Good evening. Today is Wednesday, June the 22nd, 2016. If you compare the clocks, this is the opening, and right now it's 9:41 p.m. New York or 6:41 p.m. Phoenix. I guess we don't need these clocks anymore. Let's just focus on the video. Opening at 17 cents to the upside. Low volumes. Unfortunately, this window came up over here. This is how this thing looked at closing yesterday. Think about this for a second. I'm looking at this thing and we had momentum to the upside, fueled by the upside divergence on the 60. Then we get interrupted and we pull back. And then on the pullback, the 60 stayed extremely short. You have a series of bottomings over here and you have a continuation. This thing spells continuation. It really does. Here's the opening. Very little move to the upside, like we saw, 17 cents. The daily moves from 14 to 13, and it flattens. And the weekly moves up slightly higher, from 219 to 221. And then here's the 5-minute time lapse. This is the pre-market. Should have been taken at 9:25, but I made a mistake here. And this is the opening, the 17 cents that we took, that we looked at, and for the most part, very boring, very little in the way of movement. Take a look at the one topping negative, the 5-minute kind of inconclusive. Here's the context at 10. Take a look at the 60 at 10. It moves up slightly higher. The 15 is kind of looking like negative divergence. So at this point, nothing. Then you have the price move up. And now we are starting to look like we are in retest territory there on the 15. Take a look at the 60, grabbing momentum. That is a magnificent price retest right there. You have a pattern. And at this point, take a look at the 1 minute ending its upcycle and technically topping. So it's going to work on topping that 5 and turning it. Now, that 5 would turn and enter a down cycle on good context, on the context of the 15 divergence. Now, that 15 divergence is a little wide, so you can shorten it by bringing in a 30-minute. I didn't want to show you this because then you're going to see what happened. You bring in the 30, see what I'm talking about? All you need is for that 5-minute to turn, boom! And it comes in the form of this pattern on the 1. That's why it's important to take a look at that. If we continue here on our time lapse, so the 1 minute turns, that is one of those one of two things patterns. One is the trend starts there, that's one thing, and the other thing is a retest to turn that 5. But you could say, I'm going to enter there, and I would have gone for the 219 puts, retesting at 219.50, which is where we were at, basically. So you could have entered there at what time? 10:55, 10:50, right around there. Then take a look at this. The one gets a little long. The 5-minute has turned. There's your retest at 11:20. By 11:25, this thing's already resolving down. Take a look at that 5. Boom. Drop. What are you going to do? Ride the drop of the 5. The 5 has momentum. First pullback on the 1. We are going to start channeling. There's the channel regression. The 5-minute says down. So you have a little bit of support there on the 1. It kind of plays out there a little bit right here. Boom. Take a look at that 5. The 15 is calling the price down on this drop. Take a look at that. By 12:25. Now you have an upside pressure pattern on the 1, but extreme direction everywhere. Even the 60 has turned. 1 minute pulls back. The 5-minute says down. Ooh, take a look at this. We introduce a little bit of weakness on the 5 by pulling it back a little bit, and then you have the continuation. This could have been an exit right here at 12.55 on the, this is 12.55, yeah, right around here at 228. What are we looking at? 37%. But the technical bottom of the 5 really has not happened here yet. Take a look at that 15. So this thing pulls back. So this little pattern over here plays itself out, moves the price about 20 cents. Then you have the continuation. Now you have a very entrenched pattern on the 1, 110, 115. I'm looking at the 5. The 5 turns right around here. 125, 130, right around here. See? 50%. The 5-minute technically bottoms. The entry is the 1 minute had successfully technically topped the 5-minute, which is right here. And upon the technical bottoming of the 5, I'm gone, because now we are working on an important pullback. Then this thing introduces weakness to the 15. Then you have a continuation with a 5-minute pattern. And if you're still here, you are asking for trouble, because take a look at this. This is the end of the day right there. Boom. That takes you to 61%. I mean, it is a little bit more, but it's not extremely a lot more. You just add risk. Now, you have to also take a look at the context. What's the context? The context is there is a continuation that wants to happen because of the trend established by the daily. But right on the drop, you're going to create a pattern. If I call, I got a little sidetracked and distracted here, but I should have acted on this pattern. You know why I didn't act it? I got a little distracted, and I'm still a little sick, and I got distracted, really. I'm looking for an excuse. I should have seen this better. I was calling the 2-hour, because see, on the drop over here, this thing is going to create an instantaneous upside divergence, even on the 4. And that's what's going to propel the price to go back up again, which is then going to feed a very interesting negative divergence at a daily level, which will help undermine the weekly and finally put this monster monthly negative divergence into motion. With that said, let's quickly take a look at VXX. VXX had also a very clean pattern. If I call on the 30, it hardly gets any better than that. This is my mistake. The signs were here. This is the 1-2 pattern, 1 of 2 things pattern. One is the trend starts here. The other one is a retest to create a divergence. In this case, it's a pullback that lacked the energy to retest at the same levels, because the divergence is too in your face. The 1450 calls on VXX probably made amazing money. Entry, take your pick at around 11 or 11.25. So quickly recapping, the entry on this thing would have been either here on the 1 of 2 things pattern or here at 11.20. I keep getting distracted. I'm in the middle of a firestorm, in the middle of comments about these guys who put a video about God. Just ridiculous stuff. Anyway, that would have been the entry, 10.55, the 1 minute technically bottoms on one of those 1 of 2 things setups that I talk about, 73 cents. This is the pullback that didn't complete all the way down. See, another one of these things. God damn it. So this thing was 11.22, 11.28, right around there. So if you ride the 5 minute, this is the very top of the 1 minute right here. And over here is the turn of the 5. If you wait for that, then you are still at 69%. Now we have an interesting pullback and then a continuation that pops out at 91.78 with a pattern on the 5 towards the end of the day. Now think about this. We're looking at a 30-minute pattern that came into motion. So a pullback on the 5-minute is definitely a possibility. On top of the fact that the hourly has turned, and the 2-hour by that matter. Not only that, this whole thing is really an upside divergence now. We bring in the context in here. Take a look at that daily for crying out loud. See what I mean? So that gives you longevity on that trade, and that can take you to 91. But if you're not comfortable and you just want to ride the 5-minute, take a look at how the 1 minute over here gets on its channeling right here, building patterns to undermine the 5. Continuation, hitting the upper part of the channel regression, another pullback, another continuation, another pullback, another continuation. By this time, the buildup is of such magnitude on the 1, and the 5-minute has been going on for so long that you have a pullback or down cycle of the 5, and then you have a continuation, and then on this continuation, that's where you can say, I'm done with this move. But it was just beautiful. I was not paying attention. I'm a dumbass. So it happened on the 15, it happened on SPY. Take a look at Qs. Qs also had a very interesting pattern. 5-minute down cycles on that pattern, you're going to have a move. 107.50s. Context is the daily still pointing down. Moving on, Russell 2000 also had a pattern. If we bring in the 30-minute chart, not as clean as VXX. VXX was perfect. SPY was really pretty. Q's not as good, but again a pattern. Russell near perfect retest. Diamonds was pretty decent. I'll take a look at how the 5-minute comes in here. The 1 minute has a pattern there. Thank you very much. Context. This daily was short on the upside, wants to bring the price down. The weekly is completely broken, and we're in the middle of a negative monthly divergence with a quarterly that's already pointing down. How about FAS? Same type of context, pullback on trend established right here. Pretty interesting pattern. 5-minute down cycles. Boom. See what I mean? Take a look at Tesla. See, the weekly was already going down. Like monthly context is bad for these guys. Holy shit. Take a look at how the price comes in here, piercing through this daily that's down here. It's a pullback. This thing is over. If we take this thing here, let me take that range out of there. Yeah, this 15 was done. It's amazing. The drop is it's majestic. These guys dropped a lot. From here to here, they lost 11%. They got hammered today. Tesla got hammered. Freeport McMoran reacted to that pattern, right? 5-minute, and then it just held on for dear life over here. That daily is still pointing up. Their context is really bad for these guys. So take a look at the long-term context. This is a pullback on trend. We're hitting the channel regression. The weekly is long, and we're definitely building down pressure on the daily chart. GDX got an interesting pattern here on the 15. Pattern here. 5-minute turns on that pattern. Boom, the price explodes. They're both pretty decent. Remember yesterday, Alex was telling me about UNG, and I told him as it will make it hardly to 8. That's the channel regression. And there it is. Now I'm looking at UNG options, the 8.5 puts. If you're saying to yourself, you know what, I'm going to stay in the money. So the 850s are above us over here, so they're in the money. We hardly made it below 8, which is what I said was going to happen. So we went from 28 to 50. 78%. The problem here, take a look at that spread and the options interest. The open interest is not very good. Now the 8 puts hard to read this chart. Made it from 4 cents to 15 with a 3-cent spread, right? So it's an interesting pattern. Now, if we dissect this thing, the pattern was there. The context was good because the context appeared on weakness on the daily. The up cycle of the daily is not compromised. The weekly is long. And obviously I don't have good technicals over here to read this thing. But this thing is on the no side over here. It's hard to read, so I'm not even gonna do anything there other than I know that the weekly is long, and so that means that we're fighting the long-term trend, and the long-term trend is down, down, down. But there it is, pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? USO completed a pattern in here. Context was good. It's a nice pullback on this daily trend that really wants to put an end to the pullback on the long-term trend here. This is very dangerous. The oil wants to crash. But if we go and massage this thing, take a look at the 30-minute chart. That was a very healthy 30. I just didn't care to go explore. I fell asleep at the helm today. I completely own up to it. I'm an idiot for doing this. But there it is. So the 15 is here. Take a look at that 5-minute. When this 5-minute down cycles from this pattern, Armageddon ensues, then you have a 5-minute pullback continuation. If anything, that is your exit on this particular move. This is a low price stock, so maybe the 1150s. I'm not even going to go explore, but there's the technicality of the move. And then I don't even care to go take a look at any of this. So let's get back on track. That's what I have for today. I will regroup. I've been kind of depressed, sick, tired of the grind. I'm in a rut right now, but technically I'm there. I just need to stay alert. So let's do that, okay? Tomorrow will be Wednesday, June the 23rd. Until then.